Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's web seminar brought to you by Lawyer Cover. We're going to be talking today about Google Analytics for law firms, and this is another in the series of Lawyer Cover's Law Firm Best Practices webinars. And before we get started, let me just talk for a moment about the technology we're using. You should see a chat panel on the right-hand side of your screen. You can open and close that chat panel by clicking on the arrow in the upper left-hand corner. You can also enter a question to us at any time during today's web seminar, and we will queue your questions up and get to as many as we have time for at the end of today's session. And now, let me introduce today's speaker. Alan Bloom is the CEO of Startup Selling, Inc. He's the author of Your Virtual Success and the new book, Sell More and Work Less. He's been awarded Inc. 500 status for 2 consecutive years. He's authored over 100 marketing articles. He's a web marketing expert, and we're very happy to have him here with us today. And with that, Alan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate that. And welcome, everyone, to a really interesting topic today on Google Analytics and traffic analysis and visitor mapping and all kinds of really interesting things. The agenda is going to be what's the purpose of web analytics and how does Google Analytics work? What type of data are you going to receive? How do you interpret that data? Can you identify visitors? And if so, what would you do at that point? How can analytics improve your business? What can it do for your law firm? And then using these analytics, what strategies and tactics can you take to then execute upon them? And we'll have a Q&A session at the end. So with that, let's dive in. So if you're not doing web analytics or you're not doing enough with web analytics, what's the purpose of it? What are you trying to get out of that to help improve your overall web marketing strategy? How can you identify strengths or weaknesses? And then what can you do to improve them on your website? How do you track the behavior of visitors? What are your visitors doing? What's the workflow look like? What pages are they landing on? Where are they going? How long are they staying? Are they coming back to your website, or are they bounces at your website? Are they coming to one page and leaving because they're not interested? Is there a particular area of your website that's sticky? That's a word we use a lot when it comes to analytics. What's the stickiness of a given page or section of your website? And ultimately, for your law firm, how can we understand what's happening with prospects and clients based on the traffic data? Now, how does Google Analytics work? Well, the first thing is it's free. And what's kind of amazing about it is it's a very, very deep and functional tool, and it's free. So if you're familiar with Google AdWords, for example, which helps you with your law firm SEO, well, I would say Google Analytics is a much more robust tool than AdWords, and it's very easy to install on your website. What happens is you install a little JavaScript after your body tag on your website. So just on your website, there's about 4 lines of code that you install. It's very easy to do. You could probably do it yourself, or certainly if you have IT resources, it's extremely fast and easy. You install it on every page that you want to track. You don't have to install it on every page, but it's important because you want to see what the flow is happening, and it can only track that flow if you have installed that little bit of code on each page. It's innocuously collected. So in other words, it's unintrusive to the visitor. They can't tell, they don't know, you're not collecting personal information from them. We're going to be getting to that later in the webinar, by the way. So basically it's tracking the information, and it tracks lots of different things. Everything from the browser that the person used to find your site, to search terms if it can identify them, to very deep information on what they visited and when and how, and demographic information. It's actually pretty amazing. Now, what type of metrics can you collect? Well, first of all, average time on each page, very important. Average overall time on the site, again, very important. The landing page is there. So the first page they come to, your landing page, where did they land? How did they arrive? Bounce pages, that's sort of the opposite, which is, well, they got here, and how fast are they leaving? So a bounce is somebody looks at one page and they go away. So they landed on About Us and they left. Or they landed on my home page and they left. It's a bounce. Exit pages. So they're not a bounce, but they've gone from the home page to, about a particular area, family law to about us, and then they exited, for example. Or from your home page to your law firm blog, and they exited. That's assuming it's an integrated blog. Traffic by period. Now, this is amazing. It does a great job at analyzing what was my traffic this quarter versus last quarter, this year versus last year, this month versus a month, Y over Y a year ago. Monthly unique visits versus repeat visits. Organic queries, what queries are helping find your law firm. I typed in corporate law, San Diego, family law, Boston or Massachusetts. And what referral sources are helping find the site? Are you subscribing to a law firm directory? Are you part of a law firm association for your state, California state law, for example? Are you paying for AdWords and they're going to be generating traffic for your law firm site? All of those things are tracked. And again, at a price of free. That's pretty good. So here's some examples. Take a look at your screen right now if you're not looking, and take a look at my quarterly Y over Y, quarterly year over year traffic. Now, some important statistics here. First of all, let's take a look at these lines so we can compare year over year by increment that we choose, hourly, day, a week, month, etc. And I could see, well, this year is just going fantastic compared to a year ago. So here I am in 2012, and I can see I have a significant difference just by eyeballing it. But if I look over here, they track my metrics. And I've had 4,922 visits, for example, during this period, versus 2,856 visits a year ago, 72.34% increase. This is an actual client result, by the way. That's a very, very prominent increase. I'm sure almost anybody out there would be happy with that. Now, what about the unique visitors? Well, 63% of them are unique visitors. Now, there's good news and bad news there. If you were marketing to clients, for example, well, that may not be the number you want. But if you're marketing for new business and new engagements, then that's a great number. 2/3 of my business, almost exactly, is coming from unique visitors. I've also had a significant increase in page views. Now, does anybody know why that's important? That's actually a little bit of a trick question. Well, if I have a large number of increase in visits, but I don't have a proportional number of increase in page views, that means a lot of my new people coming are only looking at maybe one page and they're leaving. That's how you can have a lot of new visits but not a proportional page view increase. So we want to see lots of new pages, and as a matter of fact, we do 14,000 versus 8,000. Terrific. Actually, that's a statistic that we can infer additional information for in another chart that I'm going to show you in a minute. 67% were new visitors, and 32% were returning visitors. Terrific analysis from a very simple to install tool. Now, this is a recent addition to Google Analytics. I don't know if you have Google Analytics, you may not have seen this view. If you don't have it, you're going to like this view. This is my visitor flow. This is a great visual instrument to help you say what's happening with my law firm website. And here we took Startup Selling. Startup Selling is the parent company of Juris Marketing Group. And let's take a look at this. Here's a great source of information. I can tell you what countries people are visiting from. Now, we tend to be North American centric, so in a way we're more interested in the United States. We do a little international business, but we are U.S. centric. And that's showing you the vast majority of our people are coming from the United States. And I can see that a lot of people land on home, but also blogs attract many people. I see that John Scranton has a blog that's attracting almost 200. I have a blog that's attracted 130. This is a couple of weeks, I think, the time frame. And we also have people coming in for many landing pages. If I clicked on that 717, or I clicked on my home page, it would drill down and show me the traffic flow specifically for those pages. That's a pretty robust tool. Now, looking at my home page view, which I'm on right now, I can see a lot of people go to lead generation and other pages, and they continue on to blogs and 56 more pages. So this helps me determine what pages are effective, What pages do I have to make sure have call to actions on them? What pages are ineffective? And if I want them to be more effective, so if I wanted them to come to a particular page, for example, a page on cases or results or case studies or recent decisions or blogs, etc., a resource page, I could focus on changing the appearance of that page, changing the navigation of that page, changing how people would access that page, making that page more prominent on my home page, maybe even making a button on my home page. So there's a lot of data here that I can now interpolate to determine what should I do to have the proper behavior that I wish to elicit from people who are visiting my law firm website. Also at the top, notice it shows drop-offs. It shows my starting pages, my first interaction, my second interaction. And one of the things I can interpret here is once I get them, I have a fairly high number of people continuing on. Now, drop-offs aren't inherently a bad thing, particularly on a second or third or fourth interaction, because people may want to go to a blog, they have the information they want, and they leave. Or they want to see what the upcoming webinar is that you're offering, and they take a look at it, they register, and they leave. So they aren't inherently bad, but obviously if you have a huge number of drop-offs, particularly from your homepage, you want to find out why people aren't sticking. Which is a great segue to my traffic by page. Now this is, again, we chose one of our websites here, and we can look at every page in the website. We can look at page views, which is what this is sorted by, unique page views, and here's one of my favorite things I want to show you. We can look at average time on the page. That's great. How long are they spending on the page? Now, what leaps out at you? Well, they're spending a pretty good amount of time, 2 minutes to my home page, even longer on our blogs. Remember we talked, well, if you've been to other webinars, we talk a lot about blogs, the stickiness, the efficacy. So that means for prospective clients or for existing clients, we have them taking 3 minutes every time they go to a blog. They're reading that blog. They're looking at that and maybe more blogs. Terrific. Now we can see entrances, bounce rates, percent exiting, etc. This is a great way of determining what's effective, what's not effective, and what can I capitalize on. So now that we've assimilated that quickly, let's take a look at traffic sources and engagements. Now today, I'm only giving you a smattering of views. There's tremendous depth in this product. It's amazing this is a free product to be added. And I'll even go over later the differences, some of the differences between this and the fee-based products and what you're gaining or losing with Google Analytics versus others. So now I can look at my traffic sources. Take a look right now at your screen. And let's look at my traffic sources. Now, right away I see, look at this, LinkedIn starting to contribute pretty effectively. I have 105 people who've come directly from LinkedIn. Now, I can't say Google does an awesome job at this. I can say they certainly do an adequate job at this. Now, ironically, SEO, we do a lot with search engine optimization. I can see I'm getting a lot of traffic from Google. Organic searches. They might be, typing law firm marketing, law firm web marketing, and so on and so forth. Or if it was professional liability insurance for lawyer cover, if it was a lawyer cover site, people might be typing professional liability insurance or liability insurance for lawyers, etc., and they would come to their site. The next one is they know me. It's direct. They've just typed in my company name, and they've come to my website. They've typed in my actual website name. And then I have some from Bing and Yahoo, and of course LinkedIn is fairly well trackable by the Google Analytics, and it's showing up, and it's not insignificant. However, let's not stop there. Let's not focus just on visits. Let's take a look at pages per visit and go back to average duration. So you see that Google is continuing with this theme, helping us along, actually, and helping us say, but great, they're coming, what are they doing after they come? So I have, if they go through Google Organics, they're going to 3 pages per visit. pretty close to doing it direct, pretty close to Bing, less so with LinkedIn. Is it because they know me more? Is it because they are going directly to a page I'm leading them to? So this is a great way of analyzing and assessing what am I doing on LinkedIn, what am I doing on Facebook, what am I doing for web ads, and what's the result on my website. Now, I know I'm throwing a lot at you. There's a lot of stuff to assimilate. One of the great things is I feel Google Analytics is a relatively intuitive tool. I can't say it's easy. I can't say if that you put the time in, you will get good information out. You can also outsource this or ask for consulting or go to LinkedIn forums, etc. There's a lot you can glean out of this. We're just touching the tip of the iceberg. There's a huge amount under the water. Now, bounce rate, 70% from LinkedIn. So I would probably look at what's happening with LinkedIn. I drill down. You can see it's a large number of new visits. So I'm attracting people, but is it the right kind of people? Are they interesting, or are they merely getting what they want and leaving? They could be filling out my Contact Us form or a specific landing page. Now, visit duration. This is great. It drills down on not only page views, but the percentage of total, so I can compare and contrast how long people are staying. Now take a look at this for a second. All right? Down here at the bottom of the chart, I can see that there's people who are staying between 601 and 1,800 seconds. That's a tremendous amount of depth of time. It's a big investment on the website. Even 181 to 600 seconds, 3 to 5 minutes. That's a big deal for somebody to take that amount of time. We're talking YouTube level investment of time. And as a matter of fact, maybe they're watching some videos. So with those people, I'd really love to know who they are. Google does not do that. We're going to talk about that. Google will not tell you the company that's come. They'll only tell you the traffic source, where they came from, maybe from LinkedIn or Google. So that's one hole in Google, and we'll talk about that, and there's a reason for that. Now, we started to drill down in traffic patterns, bounce rates, stickiness, time on the website, sources. Well, now that's all great information. We're collecting this pot of information. How can you use it to improve what you're doing with your law firm web marketing? So we want to look at the traffic patterns and correlate them to some type of web activity or web event. So that gets us to what are you doing, for example. So for Lawyer Cover, for example, they have a large web seminar today that they're sponsoring. So Lawyer Cover is sponsoring this web seminar. We're driving people to the Juris Marketing site and the Lawyer Cover website, and they can track it through Google Analytics. And if they see a blip, for example, in traffic today, they can say, well, that's because today in the last, around this 72-hour period, there was an email campaign, there was a web seminar, and there was we're driving people to our website for collateral and additional information for e-collateral fulfillment. So you want to try to correlate what activity you were doing to those peaks and valleys that I showed you in one of the first charts that I showed you, your traffic analysis. That's on your summary page. Now, if you send out, like we have law firms and other types of clients that send out large-scale newsletters. So, for example, if you're a law firm and you're sending out newsletters to 10,000 subscribers to your newsletter, well, you should see you want to drive people to your website. You want to elicit that behavior to either a dedicated landing page or perhaps some other type of, to a blog or some type of piece of information that's important to them that's then going to have them reach out to you or be more impressed with you, or to improve your brand recognition or your name recognition, or to elicit a response, or to have a consultation. So that's what Google can do a great job with, helping you tie events and traffic to specific campaigns and activities that you're doing. Now, I showed you LinkedIn was driving people. 105 people came in 2 weeks to our website. So, for example, Are you sponsoring a group? Are you doing updates? Are you providing information? Did you provide an interesting article, for example, or a piece of information of value on LinkedIn, and all of a sudden you had the corresponding traffic to your website? Terrific to correlate those two things. Traffic patterns can indicate when the visitors arrive, and to some extent why they're arriving. That allows you to better understand the activity of your prospects and clients, particularly if you segment your website. If you have certain pages that are client-centric versus pages that are prospect-centric, you can now correlate the two and say, well, great, these types of behaviors are really helping with my clients. Those types of behaviors, those types of activities are really helping with prospects, and you can help determine the efficacy of your web marketing campaigns. By the way, it doesn't have to be web marketing. Theoretically, you could do a snail mail campaign driving people to your website, and of course measure the results to your website, especially if it's to a specific page or landing page. Now, we want to replicate success, or certainly turn areas of weaknesses into success. So what are the pages that are doing good jobs? So for example, I showed you a couple of blog pages that were doing really well, not only with showing up as having sizable activity, great traffic, but they had tremendous stickiness on the pages. A lot of time was spent on those pages. Use those for models for your law firm to revamp pages that are not doing well. Now this is going to be a little bit of an interesting statement, I think, or maybe come as a surprise. All pages are not equal and should not be equal. So you don't necessarily, not every page is supposed to be a star. And I'll give you an example. A resource page, which has links, for example, to things that people may want to go to, whether it's IRS links or other links, those you may not want to be a star. They're there, but you don't want people spending tremendous amount of time on those pages. You want to drive them to other pages. So not every page should be optimized for stickiness and to drive people to your website. So you want to have pages that are stars, and you want to have pages that are there just for depth and for SEO. So remember, you want to improve page performance, not for every page, but for pages that are important to you and for your clients and prospects. And CTA's call to action, if you have a page that's a star, or multiple pages out of your 30-page website, 10 are really heavily trafficked, you want to make sure you have a clear, above the fold call to action to elicit the behavior of that prospect or client to engage further with your law firm. Wow, great stuff. Okay, now website design. So we're now moving from the Google Analytics to the traffic to, well, what about the website design and the navigation? So remember, we said not every page is a star, but we want to make sure that when they're going to certain pages, particularly the pages that are heavily trafficked, at a minimum, those pages look great. They are easy to navigate. They are SEO optimized because you're going to be driving, they're already, we can see people are being driven to those pages, and that there's a clear call to action on them. Pages that are weak, or if your entire website is weak on traffic, well, take a look. Is your content dynamic? Is it changing? Do you have a blog feed, for example, on your homepage? Is it interesting? Does it speak to your prospective client and client? Do you have optimized text? Are there images? Do you have video content, for example, that you've done? Are you doing webinars? If so, are you recording them and putting them up there? And for social media, are you sharing that content? So, for example, one of the great things with social media, it's all free. Are you driving people to those pages with those call to actions? You can see there's this tremendous cascade effect that you get when you're dealing with the analytics. Now, I had mentioned something about visitor ID mapping, prospect ID. So Google's not going to get to this anytime soon. I mean, wouldn't it just be great if out of those thousands of visitors that I showed you, I knew the companies they came from? Well, you're not going to find out unless you're kind of engaged in a full-blown CRM where you have tracking cookies on and you've alerted people of that and they're interacting and they're registering with their email. You're not going to track their individual information easily. However, new technology allows you to determine the companies that are visiting your website. Google doesn't. I don't think they will because of their privacy rules. But you're not collecting personal information, just, IBM visited your website or some other, firm visited your website or XYZ corporation visited your website. That's great to know. Today they'll even tell you the venue that they came from. They came from, Arkansas or from Columbus, Ohio or from Tallahassee. So that is a separate item. That is a fee-based item that you need if you want to do company tracking on your website. Google does not do that. So we're going to launch a poll for you while we take our Q&A session. I'll ask our moderator if he'll be kind enough to launch that poll. And we're going to queue up questions. We have a lot of questions that have come in. And Mr. Moderator, what's our first question today?
We do have several questions that have come in. And while we're reading these, please feel free to go ahead and choose any selection on the poll that you'd like. If you'd like to meet with Lawyer Cover about any of these topics, professional liability insurance, Google Analytics, or more. The first question we have, Alan, is what is the difference between Google Analytics and HubSpot?
Okay, we get this a lot. That's a really good question. So, and I'll frame this not just HubSpot, but any platform, fee-based, analytics-oriented platform. What's the difference? Well, often those platforms do more than just analytics. And HubSpot's a good example of that. HubSpot, you would blog on it. It does the analytics. It does something called downstream conversion, and it does e-marketing, which is how it helps with the downstream conversion analytics. And basically, when you go with something like that, you're saying, I am going to put my website on HubSpot. It's not the only option because you can actually load the code onto a regular website, but often that's what people are doing. They're saying, I'm embracing this platform to do everything for me. The advantage is it's sort of kind of an all-inclusive. The disadvantage is it's fairly complex and it's not inexpensive. It can run a couple of $1,000s a month or more. To choose a platform like that. What does it do that Google, now here's the irony. A number of our clients have HubSpot, and we still have Google Analytics loaded on it, which is kind of funny because Google Analytics is a very deep analytics platform, and some of these platforms don't even do what Google can do, so it's kind of ironic. But HubSpot will do many things that Google Analytics doesn't do, including, theoretically, you sent an email to somebody, they came to your website, you engaged with them, and then they became a client. Now, it's better for transactional businesses than I think for law firms because most of the time you're going to be speaking with somebody, you're going to be inviting them in or, depending upon the type of practice you are, and then it's an engagement letter and so on, or a retainer, and it's not exactly the type of e-commerce transaction that would track that downstream conversion, but you could still do it manually, but that's the difference between Google Analytics and a HubSpot type platform. Good question. Excellent.
Thanks, Alan. Another question that we have here, with a limited budget, would you recommend investing in SEO or Google AdWords?
Okay, and that's a little bit of it's a really good question. It's sort of related yet often to its own niche. So I have strong feelings about this. Google AdWords is faster, organic SEO is better long term. I hope that's not a cop-out answer. So Google AdWords can get a lot of traffic to your website very quickly because you can pop it up as many times as you want. You can throw as much money at budget at it as you want. However, you'll always pay for that. So it never goes away. I look at it as kind of solar panels on your house, so to speak. If you invest in the solar panels, well, once that investment's done, you're going to reap the energy benefits for time to come. Otherwise, you're going to be paying the gas man every time you happen to use it. So for AdWords, now some clients do both. They say, I want to get started up fast, and they do AdWords, but they're investing long-term in their SEO. With that, I want to issue my SEO warning. And that is, with the Google Panda and Penguin algorithm shifts, including the more recent 3.7, 3.8, and 3.9 algorithm shifts. Please do not invest in link building schemes. Please save your law firm pain. Do not do directory submissions and don't do link building particularly with sketchy generic directory farms, because Google is actually penalizing them and people who use them. Google doesn't want that. They look at it as gaming the system. I agree with them, by the way. They want relevant, current content. So invest in content. Don't invest in link building. So if anybody comes to you about law firm link building, please run away. Great question. We have time for one more quick question, and that's it. Mike?
Last one we can have here is, how do I measure ROI with a project like this?
Okay. Well, it is free. So theoretically, if you're spending very little time, the ROI could be potentially huge. It will take some time, though, and time is money. So you would basically, to me, one of the easiest ways is to measure traffic on your website. So what I would do if I were a law firm and I didn't have Google Analytics, it's trivial to put Google Analytics on your law firm. You either have to spend a little bit of time or outsource to learn the Google Analytics. Some agencies do this, and it's pretty inexpensive, by the way. And you just have them. They create a report pack, and they run it, and they meet with you once a month and talk about all this stuff. But you then say, here's what I'm doing. Here's my analytics. Here's my increase in traffic, and you measure how much time you're putting in, and do you see a proportional increase in traffic, and then you'll get a determination of a baseline ROI, assuming some percentage of your traffic ultimately converts to business on a monthly basis or a yearly basis.
Thank you very much. Now, we are out of time. We do want to keep these to 30 minutes. We appreciate everybody being here with us today. Of course, the main way you can show your appreciation for Lawyer Cover's sponsorship of these web seminars is by talking to them about your professional liability insurance. And to do so, just call the number on your screen, Kevin McKernan. You can email him at kpmckernan@lawyercover.com or visit www.lawyercover.com for more information. And again, we thank Alan for being here with us today. We thank all of you for attending. And of course, we thank Lawyer Cover very much for sponsoring this web seminar series. And with that, we hope all of you have a great afternoon.